Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It is May 27th, 2016, and here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, a multi-year, peer-reviewed study has found a link between cell phone radiation and cancerous tumors. Then,
I was briefed about these brave patriots fighting the government's illegal claims to their land. This is who your government sees as the transgressors?
concerned about open borders, federal agents abusing people and confiscating their land? You must be a hateful Nazi, like this guy. And a video game mimics Alex Jones, portraying him as a transhuman terrorist.
We will not relinquish our limbs. Do you understand?
What is happening on this planet?
Why are they building concentration camps? What's going on out there? Reports of multiple fatalities.
All that and more on tonight's INFOWARS Nightly News.
This technology falls into the wrong hands.
Diseases or viruses that could wipe out the human race.
And we begin our news tonight with a very shocking revelation. Hillary Clinton is a liar. I know this is just something that you cannot believe to hear, because they will tell you all over the media that she's just the most honest, integrity-filled, experienced person on the board. And I can't argue with the lady's experience. We can debate how good that experience was. But when you see Mrs. Clinton repeatedly lie and get caught, whether it was her talking about how when she stepped off the jet, I can't remember what country it was, she was dodging sniper fire, she didn't know anything about Benghazi, even though she'd been receiving frequent emails and cables from Ambassador Stevens. Besides all that, now we have this where even MSNBC is calling her out, and they say, why don't Hillary's email aides tell her to stop lying? And the discussion came on the heels of the release of an Inspector General report this week that revealed Hillary never sought permission to have a private email server, despite claiming repeatedly that the State Department had knowledge of her use of the private server. So yeah, I'm sure this shocks you and you just don't know what to do with yourself. But let's take a look at MSNBC themselves debating this issue.
That was mind-boggling. The number of false statements contained within that.
Amazing.
I mean, I don't want to be like negative. I really don't. Does she not have anybody around her that can tell her, Jim Van Dyke, you know, we got to really stop lying about this, because everything she said in there was just a lie. I mean, it was allowed by the State Department. No, it was not allowed by the State Department.
That was the whole point of the news this week.
Everybody knew in the State Department that we were doing it.
And one of the more encouraging things about this revelation, or I guess just the Hillary experience in general, is when we went out to Albuquerque and later on to Anaheim, I was very encouraged to meet very few Hillary Clinton supporters. We met many Bernie supporters, people who were just not going to vote at all, libertarians, anarchists. But regardless, people are waking up to her, even on the left. So I'm very encouraged to see this. People saying this woman is a liar, she cannot be trusted. And that's not to say that, you know, the other political contenders are any better, but she has her issues, and at least people recognize that. So I think we are one step closer to a utopia planet, even though that's a bit far away. Let's talk about some other news. Global elite ignored dire warning at G7 about economic collapse. And on Thursday, leaders at the G7 in Japan ignored a dire warning issued by the Prime Minister. The collapse in bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers in 2008, at the time the fourth largest U.S. investment bank, was a seminal event of the subprime financial crisis. Its implosion resulted in the loss of more than $10 trillion in market capitalization from global equity markets. And this is what the movie The Big Short is loosely based upon. And every time I talk about a movie, somebody wants to attack me like, that wasn't the most historically accurate movie ever made. I understand that. Same way if I talk about the Abraham Lincoln movie or Charlie Wilson's War, I'm just saying that sometimes those things reference real events. I'm not saying they're the best thing ever made. I had a conversation with a lady about that when we were out in Albuquerque. She was trying to tell me about Abraham Lincoln and how great he was. And I said, what about how Abraham Lincoln locked up his political opposition, not people who raped or murdered people, but just people in other parties from him. And then she didn't know what to say to that. She just had her one talking point that he was so great and awesome, and she had no retort to that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about entertainment more in just 1 second. But first, let's talk about your health. And there has been a link between cell phones and cancer. And this is something we've heard for a long time, or at least has been speculated for a long time, but now this appears to be backed up by a study. The multi-year peer-reviewed study by the National Toxicology Program found low incidences of 2 types of tumors in male rats that were exposed to the type of radio frequencies that are commonly emitted by cell phones. A spokesperson for the group was not immediately available to comment. So this is stuff that we hear. I think it was a month or so ago I saw some report about how cell phones could damage sperm counts and things like that. So I understand that cell phones are a part of modern life, but if you can distance yourself from them, I hear even using things like Bluetooth or talking over a car stereo is somewhat useful and beneficial as opposed to just holding it to your head. Let's talk a little bit about entertainment, as I teased earlier. Now, the thing with entertainment is I run into people, they'll see some report I did, like the report I did on Rainbow Six Patriots a few years ago. And I meet people, I go to GameStop or whatever, and they say, oh, you hate video games, you hate this. I'm like, bro, I don't hate Rainbow Six. I have the new Rainbow Six Siege where you can crash through walls. I think it's awesome. That's not what I'm talking about. When I talk about entertainment, it's usually me saying that I like this product, whether it's a video game or a movie or a TV show, whatever. I just didn't like this particular aspect of it. You know, case in point, let's say you go to Chick-fil-A and you love the food, you love the lemonade, you love whatever else, but then you see some report that the Food Babe did say, hey, Chick-fil-A has this ingredient in their food that I don't think is so great. People sign a petition, Chick-fil-A removes the ingredients, and then you go back to Chick-fil-A and everybody's happy. That's the same way I talk about entertainment. I'm not talking for boycotts or anything like that. If you choose to boycott, that may be other people's opinions, that's fine. I'm just saying if they could change up 1 or 2 things, I would like the product more. That's me personally. Now let's talk about this. The Red Skull is now seemingly teaming up with a bunch of, I guess, radical extremists as far as Americans are concerned. And he's talking about the situation when it comes to migrants. And he's saying basically, you know, these refugees are flooding our countries and you know, hurting our women and, you know, stealing our jobs and all the usual, you know, super right-wing talking points. And I have this conversation quite often with people when I talk about things like immigration. And I say all the time, I have no issue with legal immigration, but I think you have to go through it in a very proper way. And they say there's no such thing as illegal immigration. No person is illegal. I'm not saying that the fact that you exist makes you illegal. I'm saying that there is a legal way to cross a border. Case in point, just a few weeks ago, I went across seas, and when I went to these various countries, I had to have a passport, I had to have a visa, TSA or whatever their equivalent of it was checking my bags and patting me down and all this stuff. And I get to the front of the line, they say, why are you here? I want to see your passport. I don't have my passport. Go to the back of the line till you find your passport, get back up to the front of the line. Mr. Jackson, we don't know why you're here, where you're going, how long you'll be staying here, you know, do you have any contacts in the country? All these things I had to go through to enter their country temporarily. And people say, like, it's just an American thing that people get checked at the border. No, they do that all over the world if they have the money to afford it. With that said, I had to legally enter their country. Had I just walked out the airport and out on the street without going through customs, I would have committed a crime, even though I'm an American citizen with no criminal record. That's the point I'm making to you. I'm not saying everybody who comes into the country is a criminal. I'm not saying everybody's a cartel member or you know, member of ISIS. I'm saying you have to enter the country through a legal way. And that's what oftentimes gets misconstrued. Like we went out to the Albuquerque rally. I know I keep referencing that, but that's just something that just happened recently. It's like Trump said everybody's, you know, racist and Mexican and they're killing everybody. I'm like, I can't speak for Trump. I'm speaking for me. I'm saying you have to legally enter the country. Otherwise, you illegally enter the country. It's as simple as that. And now they're using the Red Skull to put this stuff out there. So once again, I'm not calling for anybody to boycott Marvel. I just wish Marvel would take a different approach. But at the end of the day, I believe in free speech. They can write any thing that they want in their comic books. And we'll transition from the comic books into video games. Now, we've seen various portrayals of Alex Jones in media, whether it's on X-Files, or I can't remember the comedian's name. He did Arrested Development. And he just has the guy, you know, yelling, you know, these racist, you know, N-words in the White House. And I heard it on Alex Jones because it's true. And I'm like, that guy has never said that. And a lot of people, when I run into people who say Alex is racist, they'll oftentimes point me to the clip of Alex Jones wearing the Obama mask, and they'll say that's like blackface or something. If you guys go back and you Google Alex Jones, Belly of the Beast, you can see a clip of him and Joe Rogan dressing up like the Bush family and calling them devil worshippers long before the majority of the people in the country ever knew who Barack Hussein Obama was. So if you want to call him out for that, you also got to take into account that he was making fun of the Bushes a long time ago. But that goes against their narrative, and thus they will never put that out there in the media. And now we see this Alex Jones depicted as a transhuman terrorist in a new video game.
Alex Jones here during a 3-minute break on Facebook Mentions. We're also going to upload this to YouTube. We got Tim Kennedy right here of UFC fame, but really special ops fame over here. This guy's like Chris Collins. Well, he's wild. Here working with us. Tim, I'm very excited that in the near future we're going to be announcing some collaboration together.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be fun.
You got so many websites. What's the best website for folks to check out?
Sheepdogresponse.com or Tim Kennedy MMA. I mean, that's where you're going to find me. Everything else is social media.
At 2 o'clock today, in about 30 minutes, we're going to do another 10-minute Facebook Mentions or so. You going to have time?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome. So I'm just letting you folks know that's coming up. But the main reason I'm doing this quick 3-minute video is I got sent this a few days ago. I kind of forgot about it. There's the article on INFOWARS.com. Alex Jones depicted as transhuman terrorist in new video game. And it's literally my speech from CNN. You know, Hitler took the guns, Stalin took the guns. And then I say, if you don't do what we say, we're going to kill you. And then truck bombs go up. So here we are trying to stop ISIS and Al-Qaeda coming into the country. Here we are trying to stop terrorism. Here we are trying to stop Black Lives Matter, kill the cops. Here I am calling for nonviolence and restore our republic. And it's another game implying that I'm for terrorism. Now, they could claim that in the future it's transhumanists who've been augmented who fight back against oppression. So maybe the makers think they're doing me a favor. All I know is it's bizarre, it's weird, and I'm going to be playing that clip here on Facebook Mentions in about 30 minutes when we finish it. So tell us what you think on the article at INFOWARS.com. Alex Jones depicted as transhumanist terrorist in new video game. It is crazy. All right, we're going to go ahead and go live here in about 30 seconds. But first off, Tim Kennedy, again, this is unscripted. What is front and center with all the news you're covering, all the things you're doing right now?
I think it's preparation. I think it's training. You know, it's giving people the opportunity to live and exercise their freedoms. You know, if you don't exercise your freedoms, like a muscle, atrophy occurs. They shrink and they die. And that's what's happening to our freedoms. We're just letting them dissolve. We are letting them rot and we're letting them decay. And I'm over it. So me and my friends and everybody that I know, anybody that I have influence of, we are doing exactly what every American should be doing, and that is exercising our freedoms.
And in closing, and in exciting news, when are we going to hear the big UFC announcement?
I have to wait to say what it is until the UFC says it, but it's big.
How long do we hear from them, probably?
Who knows, month maybe?
All right. Folks, that's it. We'll be back in about 30 minutes. We're live right now, INFOWARS.com/show. Come join us.
And now we have this. 96-year-old Heimlich uses namesake maneuver unchoking woman. So basically, you guys heard of the Heimlich maneuver. The man who invented the technique was in a living center, and he helped a woman who was choking on a hamburger. So it all came full circle. You know, he said in the quote that he was very happy that his maneuver saved so many people over the years. You do have to be careful when you do it, though. You can break somebody's ribs. I took a Red Cross class about that. So, but you know, you still help people with it. So good for you, 96-year-old Dr. Heimlich. Let's talk about somebody who's not doing good things, and this is the jihadi bride, Sally Jones. And basically, Paul Joseph Watson is pointing out the hypocrisy of these social media sites, how they will come down so harshly on various types of conservatives, or, you know, if you have a gun post on Facebook, they want to list it like it's porn. But we see ISIS jihadists allowed to spew hate on Twitter for 6 months without being banned. And she is also known as Mrs. Terror, and she is back in the news again after threatening ISIS attacks in London, Glasgow, and other UK cities this summer. And she said, to be honest, I wouldn't go into central London through June or even July. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't go there, especially by tube, tweeted Jones. And this is Sally Jones, following another tweet that simply read, England, arrow, boom. So there you go. People can get on there, threaten people's lives. They can talk about, you know, a conservative political contender, but if you say something about the liberal political contenders, they want to shut you down, you know, have, you know, cops show up to your house, all types of manner of other things. But if you're calling for a violent revolution against people, that's perfectly fine. That's liberal and trendy, and that's how they continue to operate on these social media ghettos, as Matt Drudge calls them. So to an extent, I do view them as a, lack of a better term, necessary evil. But if you can exist without Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, more power to you. Good job on that. Now, once again, to reference the situation we saw in Albuquerque this week, myself and Michael Zimmerman, when we were out there, there's some guy out there in one of our videos. He had a Free El Chapo shirt, and he's talking about how El Chapo was so great and, you know, hated Trump and all that. But the thing I was thinking about when I was looking at this guy is how often these drug kingpins or whoever, they turn against their underlings, for I guess lack of a better term, in order to get time off their sentences. And now actually the underlings are turning against El Chapo. And now we see El Chapo